Hi guys, welcome back to my Brave XVS guide. Now I'm gonna review ID. So if you don't like my pronunciation, sorry, but this is my habit since I play Xenogers. Okay, so let's take a look on the normal form first. Okay, so on the normal form, he is about the same like Graph. The main difference is he has machine and plant killer for Graph, machine and human. Okay, so I'm not sure why ID have plant killer, but yeah, here we are deal with it. And he also has the same amazing passive. Okay, 250% limit burst damage, 400% attack boost, but again the same weakness, 100% true dual wield. And I can say maybe that's the only good thing about ID. Okay, because after that, whoa, I can say he is simply horrible. His normal abilities only consist mirror of equity chain. Okay, he can deal between 68 to 108 fire physical damage to one enemy. So yes, 68 it is below average, and for you to reach 108 fire damage, you need to wait for 4 turns. Wow, that sounds great, right? And he has something like finishing move like Graph has, but it is simply bad, 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 bad. Okay, because for Graph, he has abilities which increase his damage modifier a lot, but for ID, his finishing move only deal like 100 to 180 times damage modifier. So yes, it is pretty horrible. It takes same cooldown 2 turns. So just imagine this. Okay, really nightmare. For his limit burst, I can say yes, it's quite decent, 150 times, but really guys, nothing special. With 400% limit burst damage, it deals 750 times. So nothing amazing, okay? Because Graph, he can deal 900 times on his normal form without relying on limit burst. Okay, so his normal form, ID, it is bad. What about his breath shift? Let's take a look on it. So his breath shift form, it is also the same like Faye and Graph. Talking about Graph, actually ID and Graph has the exact same stats. Okay, so their attack stats gonna be the same on same level. Okay, both of them can reach 10,000 attack easily. Okay, and on this form he still has amazing 200% machine and plant killer, and he is still mirror of equity chainer. Luckily he gets additional lightning element on this form. Will that help? I don't think so. Okay, because the damage modifier is still horrible. The main problem is he really need to become X plus 2. Okay, because on X plus 2, he gets 80 times damage to his limit burst. Okay, using cooldown ability, 300% attack and 30% fire damage. So this is gonna improve his limit burst damage a lot. The reason why you really need this is because he relies on his limit burst. For Graph, he doesn't need to be on X2. X2 is good for Graph, but Graph main attack comes from his normal abilities, not from limit burst. That's why Graph doesn't need X plus 2 as much as ID need. Okay, so really, if you really want to use your ID to the max, you really need to have him on X plus 2 because of the cooldown ability that increased limit burst damage modifier. And talking about limit burst damage modifier, I can say that yeah, it's okay. Okay, it's nothing bad at all. Okay, it's not bad. Okay, some watchers tend to twist my word. Oh, ID is far from bad. Yes, who say he is bad? I never say he is bad. I say he is worse than Graph. Not bad character because 200 times fire physical damage. It is the same damage modifier you get from Typhus. Okay, so it is far from bad, but when you're able to get better character, why you settle for the less? Okay, it also imperil 130%, limit burst damage 150%, so just blah 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 standard thing you get. So it is not bad. With 450% limit burst damage, you can deal like 1100 to 1540 times. Okay, so not bad damage modifier, but you will see on comparison why I don't like ID. So let's take a look on comparison. So the main rival for ID is Graph, okay? So against Graph, he has nothing. Okay, because seriously, nothing better from ID, okay? Maybe you say, oh, Graph cannot deal fire damage. Yes, if you choose that route, yes. Graph cannot deal fire damage, but ID cannot deal earth and water damage too. So who wins now? Okay, and for ID, I have said before that he really need X+2 form to get that ability. For Graph, it is not that needed. Yes, both characters gonna get benefit from X+2 and X+3 because of huge attack boost, but ID really need it the most, okay? So please don't twist my word again. And another thing I hate about ID is his limit burst animation is kinda suck. It is 3 hits attack, but there is long delay between each hit. For Graph, I don't think he has that problem, okay, especially with the Day of Collapse. 3 hits, fastly executed. Okay, and maybe the biggest turn off is he is locked to Fire Element. Remember that Graph, the Day of Collapse, is non-elemental attack. That alone put Graph much better compared to a Fable premium finishers. Yes, you may argue with me, oh, if you're able to make premium finisher into X+3 and have maximum, let's say, 8000 attack, they are more powerful than Graph. Graph is not meta. Maybe you want to say that. Maybe you are correct, okay? With weapon damage modifier, with weapon imperil, maybe Graph is not number 1, but again, you need to remember that Graph is flexible. And how many players are able to reach that level? Okay, and yes, so that proves my point. Graph is much better than ID. And maybe you want to compare ID to Typhus, then I do my own experiment. So my X+1 ID has 10,245 attack. Okay, and my Typhus X+2 with maximum equipment which I have, he has like 6,900. I mean 6,900 attack. Okay, so yes, like you can see on the screen here, the damage. So ID limit burst is better. 4.1 versus 2.3 billion. So this is normal limit burst. But for super limit burst, Typhus deal 5.6 billion. So it is better than ID. But again, remember that, like I said before, ID need his hyper mode on X+2. My guess is if ID use his hyper mode, I can say that he is better than Typhus X+2. Okay, so yes, maybe ID is not as powerful as Graph, but he is still very powerful. Okay, I can say he is on par with premium finisher. So really, ID is not a bad character. Again, please don't twist my word. But again, if you compare it to Graph, just take a look on the damage. Graph deal 22 billion. Insane, right? Yeah, using the Day of Collapse, okay? So please don't use Graph limit burst unless it is necessary, because the strongest point is the Day of Collapse. Yes, 22 billion. Sure, you may argue with me, but you don't max limit burst damage buff on Typhus, on ID, but again, why do you want to do that? Okay, because that means you really need to bring someone who able to give you 300% limit burst damage buff. For Graph, he doesn't need that. Okay, so I think this comparison is clear enough to show who is the most powerful character now. Okay, now my conclusion for ID. So ID without a doubt is really good, strong fire finisher. Okay, really good. I can say he is almost, if not, yeah, on par with Typhus. Okay, very nice, right? But if you already have Typhus, and I believe most of you have pulled Typhus because his STMR is kinda meta. Okay, maybe you say, oh, you don't equip Typhus with STMR, blah blah blah. Remember that take you one ability slot, and based on my build, I don't have any slot to put Typhus STMR. Okay, and yes, even when, let's say, you already know that Graph is better than ID, you still probably need ID because you need his Trust Mastery word for Graph. It gives 500 static attack. So I can say it's better than trying to make your Graph into X+2, okay, in terms of attack gain. Okay, so yeah, I totally recommend you to get ID even when you have Graph. Just wait for daily fragment dungeon to make your Graph into X+2. Another weakness is ID is locked to fire element. Maybe it's not a big deal because most characters are like that, but the problem is he is on the same banner with Graph, who is flexible. So I simply cannot overlook this thing. Okay, so in the end, I can only give him maybe 9 out of 10. Okay, yeah, about the same power like Typhus. So if you already have Typhus like me, you really don't need ID, okay, because he's not bad. But why do you have two same characters about the same? Okay, so that's the big problem. Thank you very much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more Final Fantasy Brave Exvius guide. Bye bye guys.